Hey everyone, so about 4 years ago I did the CFA ESG exam and it completely changed the trajectory of my career. So in this video I thought I'd give a quick review of the CFA ESG and explain what it did for me. By the way, if you're new here, my name's Josh, I'm an investment actuary turned YouTuber and I currently work as a sustainable investment researcher, which means I love to better understand the world we live in and find ways to improve. So let's get into it. So my honest review of the CFA ESG exam. So point number one is it's not a big undertaking. It's 100 questions and they give you 2 hours 20 for it. So it's definitely manageable and the course material is not that long either. I think it's about 500 pages. So definitely not a big undertaking. Also the course material is fairly compact. I think there's 9 chapters. So there's an intro to ESG, there's the ESG market, then you go into each of the factors. So you do a chapter on E, a chapter on S, a chapter on G, and then you touch on stewardship and engagement, and then you touch on integration from the management side and from the bottom up side. Finally, there's a chapter on client reporting and different sorts of mandates you might find. Also, it's not a very mathematical exam, it's heavily qualitative, so you're not going to be needing your special calculators like you do for the traditional CFA. My point number 2 is that it provides a fantastic baseline of knowledge on ESG. So I was coming at this exam having absolutely zero experience in ESG. I actually did it as a favour for one of my colleagues. I guinea pigged it for our business and found that the material was so interesting and I wanted to, progress my job in this direction. Long story short, it gave me a perfect kind of grounding in ESG and what it means for investment. It's very broad based. As I said, it covers each of the E, S and G elements and then also talks about integration and stewardship. So I think if you were to do this exam, it will give you a very quick grasp of the basics. Point number 3 is that it frames everything within a financial context, which is essential if you want to be taken seriously in the investment industry. As everyone knows, in the investment industry, we have a fiduciary duty to our clients to maximize risk-adjusted returns, or at least serve to meet the client's financial objectives. Therefore, we can't be seen to be investing in a way that's a detriment to that objective. Therefore, every single part of the ESG CFA is geared towards how this improves risk-adjusted returns. So ESG investing is not values-based investing or principle-based investing, where you might be removing certain investments from the portfolio that don't align with your internal values or beliefs. Point number 4 is that perhaps a more negative aspect of the ESG CFA, it skips over impact investing. So impact investing is a huge part of sustainable investing, and it's actually where a lot of investors like to focus because they like to think that their money is going towards some sort of positive real-world impact and isn't just there to make an investment return. The ESG CFA completely skips over that and focuses exclusively on how the E, S and G factors are integrated into investment decisions to improve risk-adjusted returns and how you might be engaging with your investments to make them perform better on an ESG basis. I think if you look into the Cambridge University course on sustainable investing, they touch on impact in a little bit more detail, but really you want to be focusing in on the industry bodies like GIIN if you want to learn more about impact investing. Point number 5 I had is it's light in certain areas, so there are parts of the market that it doesn't cover that well. It obviously focuses on listed equities and listed credit investing, which is the easiest place to do ESG because there are very straightforward standards you can apply, but it does skip some of the detail in the alternative space. So things like private equity, private debt, alternative credit, hedge funds, these aren't covered that well, and that's something that in my day job I grapple with quite a lot, is how to apply these principles in areas where we don't have great data coverage. So my point number 6 is that the material can get outdated very quickly. ESG and sustainability is a very fast-moving space, and there are constantly new papers, new guidelines, new methodologies coming out from the industry bodies, so you would fall behind quite quickly if it was your baseline knowledge. That being said, it gets you up to a good standard very quickly, so it's a great starting point. So as I mentioned, the ESG CFA completely changed the trajectory of my career because once I took that exam, I started to integrate it into my day job and made my full-time day job all about ESG investing and sustainability. So what would I do if I was starting from scratch? The first thing I would do is do the ESG CFA. I thoroughly recommend doing it. It's a great baseline of knowledge. It's a way of getting information in your head very quickly, and it also opens your eyes to some pretty devastating facts about what we've done to people on the planet over the time, or what businesses have done to people on the planet over time. It's also a great signal to your employer that you're taking ESG investing seriously and that you could become an expert in the area over time. The second thing I would do, which is the same thing I would do if I was getting into any area or wanted to learn more about any area, is read the main books around the topic. So I thoroughly recommend 5 Times Faster by Simon Sharp. That is a great intro as to why we're in the situation we are and how to get out of it. Interestingly, some of the best books about ESG investing are related to economics, because ultimately climate change is an economic problem. The way the economy is currently structured is we take inputs and we generate some sort of output that's positive, i.e. some sort of order, products, information, whatever, and it also generates some waste, and that waste is typically in the form of carbon dioxide, but lots of other things. And so if we can reduce that wasteful part of the economy, then we'll be putting ourselves on a good front to being more sustainable. The Climate Casino by William Nordhaus. So I bought this after it was recommended by the course, and William Nordhaus is famous because he actually won the Nobel Prize in economics for basically putting together the first climate model. Simon Sharp in 5 Times Faster, the previous book I mentioned, he completely slates William Nordhaus and his model, but nonetheless it's kind of a landmark piece and shows how climate change can actually affect the economy and therefore impact our future returns. Also, Mark Carney, Values. This is a great book. He talks about how you can better integrate ESG into investment decisions. He obviously was the governor of the Central Bank of England, a Canadian guy, I think a senior guy at Goldman Sachs as well prior to that. So yeah, definitely a great book to read. He also has some autumn lectures which you can find on BBC iPlayer or Spotify. Also, Prosperity Without Growth. So Tim Jackson is very famous for his quote that says people buy things to impress people they don't like with money they don't have, and the things that they buy they don't need. Sorry, paraphrasing that, but yeah, Tim Jackson's Prosperity Without Growth, really important to kind of think through the ideas he's got. Rebecca Henderson, Reimagining Capitalism. This is all about how capitalism can be shifted to better serve the needs of people and planet. So I quite resonate with that idea. A lot of the sustainability rhetoric in the market at the moment, or amongst people, is that capitalism has failed us and we need to completely destroy the system and rebuild it. Personally, I don't think that's possible or even practical, so I like Rebecca Henderson's ideas about shifting capitalism to better serve people and planet. Prosperity by Colin Mayer, similar vibes. The professor at Oxford, but yeah, how businesses can be a force for good rather than bad. And then finally, There's No Planet B from Mike Berners-Lee. Tim Berners-Lee is his brother who founded the internet. But yeah, Mike Berners-Lee, he wrote this book, There's No Planet B. He's got another book called How Bad Are Bananas, but it's just a brilliant kind of eye-opening treatise on climate and how we should think about it. It's very neutral as well, it's not preachy, which I kind of like, so yeah, we'd really recommend that. And then from a more kind of preachy, moralistic standpoint, there's a book called We Are the Weather by Johann Sebastian Foix, who talks about kind of the moral imperative to do something. You might not want to go down that route if you want to stick to sustainable investing. So the third thing I would do is read all the key industry papers that are coming out of the key industry bodies. So particularly on the climate side, I would read anything from the Net Zero Investment Framework by the IIGCC that gives the most up-to-date and current thinking on how you might want to integrate climate change into your investment decisions and the frameworks for doing that. On the impact side, the Global Impact Investor Network is fantastic and has a huge amount of resources you can digest and learn more about how to do impact investing. So as a bit of background on me, I've been an investment researcher for 10 years now. I started out focusing on hedge funds, so potentially the polar opposite of sustainable investing. I also focused on emerging market debt and fixed income throughout my time as well. I did the ESG CFA as a favour for one of my colleagues. She hadn't completed the main CFA exam. I had done my actuarial qualification and no one at the company had yet done the CFA ESG, so they didn't know if they wanted to kind of support study. I put myself forward, took the exam. It completely blew my mind. I learned so much about the world and the people and obviously the impact the economy has on people and planet currently. After doing the exam, I decided to completely change the trajectory of my career and focus on this area. So I currently work in sustainable investment. I work as a researcher both on the portfolio management side and on the manager research side now, and looks better integrate sustainability and in particular climate change into our investment decisions. As I said, I wasn't previously interested in ESG, but I built the habit of stretching myself and pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, and particularly in the mental space where I was pushing myself into areas that I typically had erected some sort of barrier against. So ethical investing was perhaps one of those. I was kind of a red-clawed capitalist in that sense and, focused on hedge fund investing, so it was all about the returns no matter what. And the ESG CFA definitely changed my mind on that. It's also a fantastic career opportunity, so climate and sustainability has been an enormous growth area in the investment industry, and I think it will continue to be for a long time. So if you want to move into this area, I would recommend following this plan to get you there. So there we have it. That was my summary and review of the ESG CFA exam and what I would do if I wanted to move into the area. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to hear more from me, check out this one here. Thanks.